I'm really excited. I don't know about you all, but I'm really excited because anytime I get to listen to two women talk, I know I'm going to learn a lot. And today's speaker is someone who, it's funny, I'm older than her, but I've looked up to her because she's in Hollywood, but she always seems to be someone who has done the right thing. And, that's hard these days, especially for women, because when you look out and see the images of women today in the media and what they're putting out and the messages that we are seeing every day, we don't often see images like the one that Megan Good has put out for 20 years or so, probably more than that, but you look like you're 25. So. For those of you who aren't familiar with Megan's work, and I don't know how you're not, if you've seen any of the movies, Two Can Play That Game, Two Can Play That Game 2. My favorite, of course, is Eve's Bayou. Many of you might remember that. She was a little girl in that movie. And she's done countless television commercials, TV series, and she wrote a book not long ago called The Wait. And if you don't have it, you should get it, especially young women. We're excited to have her speak to us in a non-conventional way this morning in church, and to gain some wisdom from Megan, and just to hear what it is she has to say about her walk, her faith walk, how God has ordered her steps. And the beautiful thing is we get to hear the conversation between Megan and our own First Lady, Denise Knight. She will lead the conversation. Another powerful woman of God who quietly serves, but she is right there with Pastor, keeping him on the straight and narrow. Amen. Amen. So it is my honor, and Megan, welcome to Congregational Church of Christian Fellowship. We're honored to have you here today. So.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you guys for having me here.
We want to thank you for coming. Thank you for your time and your family that came with you today. So just have a conversational girlfriend time, right?
Yes.
Unconventional. That's what I want to start with. And I think everyone here might be interested in asking, or they would ask you, how is it that a young woman who is hip, who is out there, who's been in Hollywood for such a long time, how is it that you can survive and be an unconventional wife of a minister? That's what I really want to know.
It's just God. He is everything. He is the base that I build on. Is the base that everything flows through. And so I think that He has allowed me to have a unique experience, a unique upbringing, a unique view of the world and view of life and who I am as a Christian. And so I don't know how it all works together. It's really just Him. And then for me, it's just constantly seeking Him and being obedient to what He puts in my spirit. And yeah, that's all I can say, is that it really is God. And the more that I seek Him, the more that He just continues to order my steps. And I just walk with Him. Okay.
You mentioned your upbringing. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing for people that just know you, the Megan the Star.
I grew up in Santa Clarita, California, and my neighborhood was a predominantly white neighborhood, so we were like one black family. So we dealt with a fair amount of racism growing up, and my father was LAPD for 26 years, so he wasn't really in the home that much. And I would say around the time I was 12, I started going to a youth group, and we had this great saying, we'd be like, Jesus, and then we'd be You're down with G-O-D? And so actually one of my companies is called God's Game. But so for me, I didn't really grow up in the church per se, but my mother was always very much, you know, read your Bible, get to know God, know Him for yourself. Like, don't just read the words and this is it. Know Him, speak to Him, let Him talk to you, and know in your spirit that it's not just about religion, it's about relationship. And so when I was about 12, I started going to youth group, and one of the girls that I went to school with, her and a few other girls were in a car accident. And one of them died instantly, and one of them died a few days later. And another one, they were babysitting a little girl that was 5, and she passed away as well. And this girl who was in the car, the two of them that survived, were like two of the most popular girls in school. And one of them had really defended me when someone was trying to beat me up because I was black. And we went to this youth group retreat, and I remember we were on the top of this mountain and we were praying, and she just started crying out to God, and then she got saved that night. And I thought to myself, like, after everything she's been through, how did she get saved right now? Like, how is this the moment that she gets saved? And that just really stuck with me. And so after that, I started wanting to learn more myself. And then I ended up getting saved. And so through that season of like 12 to 19, my walk was very young, as many of our walks are young. You know, praying like, Lord, please let me look like the lead member from In Vogue when I grow up. You know? And then as you get older, your prayer matures and your relationship with God matures. And I'd say when I was about 19 was the first time I had the revelation of like, okay, I'm in this business, I'm acting, I'm doing good, but I'm kind of like in this crossover phase of like being a child to becoming an adult, and I'm really struggling, and I'm not working as much. And it was the first time that I thought to ask, like, God, is this what you have for me? And to really say, I want what you want for me more than what I want for myself. So I need you to tell me, is this the thing I'm supposed to be doing? And I felt God saying, like, yes, but it's not about you. It's about what I'm going to do with it. And at first I didn't understand, but as I got older, I began to understand that He wanted me to have a platform so that I could speak back. And He's really given me a heart for young women, and I believe anything God truly gives you a heart for is something that's connected to your purpose. Anything that you're really passionate about is something that's a part of who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do in the world. So again, every day I'm growing and learning, but for me it's about using what He's given me to give back, and especially to build up young women, because that's really my heart.
Do you have any particular verses in the Bible that you repeat to yourself, you start your day with? Tell us what your faith journey looks like daily for you.
Daily. I get up, the first thing I do before I open Instagram, before I do anything else, is I pray. And then I have affirmations that I say, which are, I am God, I'm your child. I can't think of them off the top of my head at this moment, but God, I'm your child. I got a little nervous, but they'll come back to me. But I say them every morning.
No worries. I just recently started myself, just before I get out of the bed, the alarm goes off because I walk Ninja. You guys know who Ninja is, my lovely dog. And so before I walk my dog, I make sure that I have a minimum of 5-10 minutes of meditation of gratitude. What am I grateful for? Thank you for my husband. Thank you for my job. Thank you for my children. And thank you for my health, you know? So I know I love that part. I love that part.
It's kind of like that, where it's just given that, like, just things I speak over myself as well, to remind myself that I'm not who I think I am. I'm who He says I am.
Yes.
And then from that, when I get in the car, before I listen to any other music, I listen to probably at least a half an hour. Sometimes it ends up being the whole day, just gospel music, just stuff. Because the first thing you put into your spirit, top of the day, is that's what's in there, whether you know it or not subconsciously. So before I turn on my little baby, I'm going to listen to some Jesus time all the time.
Hear that, Tupac lovers? There he is. Okay, let's see. How about this? Well, you talked about this a little bit, but maybe you want to talk about how you and your husband wrote The Wait together. So can you talk about that creative process and what you did to move through that project together as people of faith? Husband and wife, strong.
Yeah, it's so crazy because it wasn't, the whole thing just kind of like manifested from when I decided to wait, and then God told me that Devon was my husband, and then I found out that he was waiting, and then people asked me about it in interviews, and then from then people became really interested, and we hadn't planned on writing a book. It was just like, well, okay, this was our journey, and we're not telling people what to do, or, you know, but we're saying this is what we did. And it was a game changer, completely changed our lives. I know it changed mine. And at that point, that's when we decided to write the book, because for me, if I can help one young woman know her worth and know that she deserves God's best, and know that just because everybody else is doing it, that doesn't mean that I have to do it. And that doesn't mean that, oh, I'm not gonna be able to keep the guy. If you can't keep the guy, then that guy is not for you. That is not who God has sent you. And so if I can help anyone learn that lesson that I wish I had learned earlier, because I always felt very convicted about, you know, having sex, and I always, like my first little boyfriend, I would always cry and repent, and it was like a cycle. I just knew that I was disappointing God. And then I got to a point where I was like, I'm so tired of crying and repenting, I'm just throwing caution to the wind. And then what happens is you accumulate so much damage along the way, and so many things, some of them where you really have to be delivered from that pain and from everything that you experience just because you give something away from yourself that you can't get back, you know? So if I could teach someone that before, you know, or even if you start now, you do get that healing, and it can change your life. So that was the process of actually doing it.
So you talked about repentance. You talked about recovering from damage and experiences. Can you talk about how you cried out to God? How did that look for you?
Yeah.
Maybe you can share how people can do. Maybe somebody is in that same cycle, or maybe they're in a situation where they really don't know how to reach out, how to cry out to God, how to ask for repentance.
Right.
Tell us what you did.
Yeah, I just got on my knees and I just started talking to him and telling him, like, I am struggling here. Like, I know I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going through it, and I need your help, and I can't do it by myself. And let me know what is the effort that I need to make specifically to meet you halfway. Because at a certain point, my effort is not enough, because I'm not fully in control, and you are, and I need you to help me. And I just kept talking and speaking, and then started crying, and just stayed there until I just felt in my spirit that God was shifting something. And it wasn't immediately. I wasn't exactly perfect after the fact, but it started my walk, and it got me on the right road. And inevitably, you know, at that point, as I began to pray more, I felt us just getting closer. And sometimes you don't even know how much closer you can get when you feel like, I hear you, I know you, you know? But even in those conversations was when God just said, like, it's time for you to be celibate. You've done it your way. That has not worked for you. Do it my way. And then also in those conversations is when I heard him say, Devon is your husband. And I was just like, what? I was like so confused, because I hadn't really been talking to him. And then, I mean, God did it so quickly. I was like, well, what do I do? And he was like, nothing. Just work on yourself. Let me work on you. Let me be your lover.
So valuable, because I'm sure you see young women, older women, all the time that are not really being who God called them to be, all the time. And they don't understand their value, and they don't know how to pray for a man who values them. They don't know how to pray for a mate who values them and cares for them and cares for your soul. So, you know, it's interesting, because when James and I met, we were in high school, actually. Yes, he took his neighbor to my high school prom, my senior prom. Can you believe it? And you know, I'm like, who is that skinny boy? I don't like him. He's so silly. He's so silly. Ugh. But can you imagine? Who knew? All those years later, he would be my mate, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, the next question. Let's move on. Can you talk about some of the women in your life that have mentored you, and how you now mentor?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my mom. I really feel like I get my heart from her quite literally, and then also just from the example that she set. You know, I remember growing up, we had a 3-bedroom house. We had an extra room built on, and at one point we had 18 people living with us. because my mom would just take in everyone. She has such a heart for people, and she's such a lover. And so she really instilled that in my sister and I. And she's just one of the strongest women I know. Our oldest brother has a learning disability. He stopped breathing when he was a baby. And she raised him by herself, and then ultimately raised my sister and I by herself, and then ultimately adopted our younger sister and raised all of us by herself. So she's always mentored me and has been light, just the light of my life. Also my older sister, you know, she's over there, it's my sister, Lamaya. And that's my cousin Baby sitting next to her. Her name's Raquel, but we call her Baby. And that's my auntie Enos, sitting right behind her. But my sister, we call ourselves yin and yang because we're very much the same person, and we're also completely opposite. But she is one of the strongest women that I've ever known in my life, and I look up to her so much. And she's, you know, talked me off the ledge, brought me back when I thought, you know, there was no coming back. She's just been such a rock in my life. Besides Tasha Smith, the actress, if any of you guys are familiar with her, she's just been an incredible friend and an incredible mentor, and just a kind spirit and a lover.
And how are you mentoring any young women, or what are your plans to mentor in the future?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of all over the place. Like I have a young woman that I met on Instagram that I was able to get her to move from Arkansas to LA, and her story is really crazy, and I wouldn't share it just because it's her private story, but her story is incredible, and I got her here and got her enrolled in the program at BET so that she could start interning. Now she's a producer for BuzzFeed and getting ready to work on something else with Shonda Rhimes, and she's just doing incredible. She's 25 years old. And so there's certain people, like, I don't know if I meet someone on the street, or if someone reaches out to me, or if it's someone that's like a part of extended family, whatever it is, whoever in my heart that I feel God is calling me to be a part of their life, those are the people that I end up mentoring. And then sometimes, you know, young girls just ask me to, you know, be my mentor over email. I'm like, sure, you know. So that's a blessing, because I think, to me, again, that's like one of the most important things, is to give back and to give some of what I had, but also what I've learned, you know.
So you've really been blessed, and that's a wonderful thing that you are blessing someone else with your wisdom. The next question I have for you is, let's see, what advice would you give anyone who is struggling in their faith journey?
You know, I had a season where I really struggled, probably around maybe 21. I felt like I was trying to do everything right, and I felt like I was driving myself crazy, and I kept falling short, and then I would just feel so guilty and inadequate. I think the thing for me is, like, even at a point I was just like, I'm just done. I'm done trying, you know? And what I realized is that I cannot do it without him. I just can't. Like, it's absolutely impossible, and I wouldn't want to. And so I guess I would say, you know, don't give up. Like, he is there. Even when you don't feel it, he's there. He's carrying you, and he's never going to give up on you. So never give up on him. And I would say just keep pushing through, you know. That's the main thing, is when it seems so hard, you feel like you can't take anymore, he comes through in those moments, and trust that. You have to have faith, you know.
Can you tell us a little bit about our theme today is stepping out, living the life God designed. What would you like to share with us about what you believe your design is?
Oh gosh, you know, I'm not even fully sure of like all of what my design is, you know. I'm still learning and growing and seeking, so I mean, I guess, yeah, I'm not fully sure all of what it is. I just understand like where I'm at now and where I've come from, and continuing to kind of walk that out.
Okay. Would you like to leave us with any words, anything you want to share with us?
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. I just wanted to say to have a relationship with God and to know Him. There's nothing more incredible in the world, and we are worthy and we are deserving, and it doesn't matter where we've been or what we've done or what's been done to us. We deserve his absolute best. So, you know, I just pray that we all continue to stay in him and continue to grow in him, and know the sky is not even the limit of what he has in store for us, and that we should follow everything that he puts in our heart, every passion that he puts inside of us, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Yeah.
Thank you so much.